we'll move on to the other side of Milan. That's why we have Gianmarco on this week. Inter, who they didn't win this weekend, which is pretty shocking. 1-1 against Napoli. A lot of people talking about a lot of other things besides what happened on the field. But sticking out what happened on the field, Gianmarco, Darmian, 43rd minute, having a fantastic season, scores, and then Juan Jesus replies in the 81st. So Inter was close to finishing the job, but they don't. I mean, they're still 18 points above first now, so it's not the worst thing. I mean, Napoli's 14, a good team. 14. Okay, there you go. But what did you make of the game?
Don't sell his Milan too short. He thinks he's got a shot. So
it's okay.
What did you think of the game, Gianmarco?
Inter, once they start playing well, they come out of the woodworks from left, right, and right. Nobody knew there was any fans in Charlotte, Carolina.
Oh my gosh!
No, I'm joking. It's all love. That's what we have you on.
About the match. Before I get angry, and get all worked up after you just told us to be calm. It was. Listen, I kind of expected it to be a difficult one. You just played 120 minutes in the Champions League. You lost on penalties. I was disgusted, and I think it's hard to just bounce back up and kind of go as business as usual in the league. And I think, part of it, obviously, not only are the players tired, but I think they also may have underestimated, Napoli. I'm sure that they thought it would be an easy opportunity for them to take advantage of this and be able to maybe get a quick 3 points. And what it feels like lately, especially for them, when you look at the game that they had against Atletico, right? They score early. You think that's it. They're broken. They're not going to want to, be willing to fight back. Obviously not the case with the Diego Simeone side. And then now, same thing with Napoli. Like, I'm sure they were thinking that they were still in it the entire game. I was concerned that as the game progressed, we didn't get that second goal to just kind of kill it off. But I mean, I'm not too shocked that we didn't win that, though, to be honest. Not that I was, rooting for a draw, but I thought that they would be a little tired, and it kind of showed in the second half there.
Yeah. And guys, just to be clear, going forward, it's all love. It's no personal shots. Gianmarco and I, it's all good. It's all love. But joking aside and all that, Gianmarco, you brought up some good points. I think if there's any, obviously you don't want to slip up at any point in the season, but with the season that Inter's been having, I think, a slip up wasn't, the worst case scenario. I think the bigger slip up, if you want, was in the Champions League for sure. Obviously, it's not the way 100%. That things. Yeah, exactly. Things were supposed to go, I guess, if you want to say that. This is a team that made it all the way to the final last year, and you know what? Even though I'm a Milanista, they even probably could have won it, right? So, or maybe should have won it. So, it's one of those things. Napoli, besides the season that they're having, is still, a quality opponent. So I'm not going to take too much out of it. I don't think, I don't know about if any Interistas did, but I wouldn't take too much, into that. I don't know if you want to kind of, touch upon, the stuff off the field. I know we don't really like to get into the controversy, Gianmarco, but it seems to be the biggest or one of the bigger headlines, obviously, of the week. So, just for me, before I let you take the floor, it's just crazy that we're still talking about things of this nature, right? In this league, in this game. So, people are gonna pick whatever side they want, and that's fine. Defend your player, defend this, defend that. I understand. At the end of the day, it seems to be that it's more than just something that you can kind of sweep under the rug. It seems to be. We don't know for sure, right? Obviously, we're not there. We don't know. We didn't get picked up what the mic said and everything, but I had seen something before that this kind of even exploded a bit more. That I think it was the Zone, because I think it was Diletta Leotta that interviewed Juan Jesus after the game, and she kind of tried to ask a question concerning the situation, and he kind of just even dismissed it, like whatever's on the pitch, it's on the pitch. He said what he had to say about a story being obviously a good player, a good person, a good good player, I guess. And it was kind of over, if I felt like. And then different news comes out, and it's kind of like, who do you believe? And like I said earlier, we'll never know, but it's just something that obviously shouldn't be in the game, or in life, and just in general, right? So just, I guess, your quick thoughts on the situation at hand, and because it also affects not only your Inter, but our Azzurri as a trio here tonight. Not getting on the plane to the States, and can potentially face 10 match ban, whatever it may be. So just your quick thoughts, Gianmarco, on the whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it on our podcast that's going to be coming out later tonight, and
nice.
I said even on there, and I tweeted out that if it comes out that this was exactly what he said, then I feel like his contract should just be terminated. There's no reason to have that on the team.
Yep.
If you're going to suspend him 10 games, to me, what's the point? Like, his season's over, and I think it sends a clearer message to not just Interisti, but even players within the locker room that that this type of behavior will not be tolerated. Fans want to do it. That's one thing. I'm not saying I condone that either, but like, you can't really just go around, just banning people because you may not know. Like this, we know who the people are involved, is what I mean.
Sure.
If it comes out that Juan Jesus, was making it up, or maybe elaborating, or making, making something out of nothing, I don't know. Again, like you said, we're not going to know really what happened. I know the federal prosecutor is going to be meeting with Azzurri tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, to kind of get a little bit more information about this and kind of dig a little deeper. I mean, yeah, it's disgusting. There's no need for that. I jokingly said you could have said it. You could have called him a trash defender. You could have said all these things about Juan Jesus without going to that. And
yeah,
those would have been right. Like you would have been able to get away with it. So it's kind of sad that, like you said, like in this day and age, that this is still how people talk. And this is kind of like the mentality of so many Italians, that it just brings it's a shame that the news that we always get, or the light that's always shined on Serie A is when it's something like this. It's never, when Inter goes to the Champions League final, no, it's a fluke. They got lucky. They weren't deserving.
It's always negative.
It's always negative. Like we never get anything good for the league. And again, like here's another instance. And I hope as a fan that this isn't true. You don't. When you hear someone who's being cancer twice, and you hope that they have a better outlook on life and more respect for life and for people in it. So it's kind of hard to believe it, but hey, you know what? It's kind of like a he said kind of thing, and we'll see. Hopefully, what comes out of it. But
yeah, and I mean, what's crazy? This whole situation. It was the No al Razzismo weekend in Serie A, and like you said, it's a bad look again. We'll wait and see what comes out of it. The fact that Spalletti thought Acerbi shouldn't be part of the Azzurri, it could mean one of two things. Could it mean that it's his punishment, or just wanted to avoid distraction of the team? But like you said, Gianmarco, just it feels like whenever there's a story out of the city, it's always this type of stuff, and it's frustrating. Man, just if you're gonna trash talk someone, talk about their skills. We've all played sports.
It's easy. Yeah.
Exactly. We've all played sports. We've all heard bad things said on the playing field. But it's rare, right? And especially when you get to that level, when you're a professional player and I don't know how old Acerbi is, 36, 35.
35, 36. Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah, like, just know better if that's true what he said. And you know what? Kudos to Juan Jesus, who, he scored the goal. He didn't make a big deal out of it first, but he only really said something when it became a big deal afterwards.
Yeah.
I think he just handled it well. Like,
yeah.
I think if he had a say, it would probably just be all dealt internally. Because obviously after the game, the referee, who was it, La Pena, I think. Obviously, there's supposed to be, referee report, match report, this and that. There's a process that they go through, but there's so many cameras around. It's so hard to avoid these things coming public and it's just sad that there's always a negative stain on the City A, and it's always the same thing. But again, we'll wait and see, and I hope that the City actually does something, if that's what he said. But moving past this Napoli game, sorry. You kind of touched on it before. Champions League, losing penalties. It's tough to lose on penalties. I feel like, especially at the club level, it's not like there's many opportunities to play in penalties. I'm sure they practiced it beforehand, but it's not like when a team goes to a national team goes to a tournament and they're practicing for multiple hours penalties. So it's really luck of the draw sometimes. But I mean, what did you make of this whole two leg battle against Atletico?
Man, I tried not to be biased when I was talking about it initially, but I thought that this was going to be the toughest tie of the round of 16. I thought if you looked at every matchup that these two teams were the most evenly matched. Of course, we're not like Man City where we get Copenhagen, in the round of 16 and can just like slap them around and get through easily. We had to go up against Diego Simeone, who I think is one of the best tacticians out there. He really knows how to play a strong defensive game, very organized. And the first leg, I thought we should have won that match 2-3-0. Arnautovic had two opportunities. One, the first, I mean, people say that he screwed up the first one. That's tough. That's coming in across the field on a volley. That's always going to be tough to hit cleanly. Sure, he probably could have done better and gotten on goal, but I still think that wasn't really a clear-cut chance. The other one, I mean, Inter this season have had a lot of problems where their strikers lean back. I mean, you're taught as a kid to get over the ball and not lean back when you're shooting, because it's just going to go straight over the net. And he did that when he could have literally put it anywhere on net and it probably would have gone in, to be quite honest. So we won 1-0. All right, cool. We're up. And then the second leg, we go up 2-0. And I'm like, this is it. I don't think we're going to give up 2 goals. Sadly, I was wrong. I don't like to say that there's luck in these games, but luck does play a little part. You have to have a little bit of luck with certain instances.
Absolutely.
And, Pavard, I bet you if he tries to clear that ball 100 times, he does it 98 times. And this just happens to somehow go over his foot backwards, off Bastoni's hand, and right to Antoine Griezmann. And now you're 1-1 in the matchup, 2-1 on aggregate. And Atletico feels like they have an opportunity. And I was worried going into this one. I said it in some Twitter spaces that I thought that the first 25, 30 minutes, Atletico was going to try to get a quick goal, that they wanted to kind of like reestablish themselves in the tie and kind of give themselves confidence. I'm sure they didn't expect to go down 1, but then they were able to equalize quickly after that. And that, I think, gave them hope. And we left that door open. Barella and Thuram had opportunities in the second half. We didn't capitalize on those. And unfortunately, Stefan de Vrij was caught sleeping and allowed Memphis Depay to kind of turn him. And he got a beautiful shot on goal and we're able to take the 2-1 lead and then push us into extra time. And I thought Inzaghi got his substitutions wrong in that tie. I think that he had opportunities to bring on different guys. I was saying specifically Tejan Buchanan. Shout out to you guys in Canada. Like I'm a believer in him. I think he's a fantastic dribbler. He's got incredible pace. And when you're going up against tired legs, I think that type of attacking style would have benefited us greatly. For whatever reason, Simone disagreed and decided to bring on Davy Klaassen, of all people, who, I mean, is just, I think any one of us could go out there and do the same thing that Davy Klaassen does when he gets time on the pitch. So
if not more.
If not more, exactly. And then we go to penalties, and I said it too. I was like, Sommer has to save this for us. Like the only way we're going to win this if Sommer, makes some big saves. And the only guy I had faith in, Hakan, was the one who scored. And then the next two, unfortunately missed in Sanchez and in Klaassen. Now, it was kind of interesting because I don't know if you saw the clip where in the close-up when all 3 guys that missed for Inter, when they ran up to the ball kind of bounced. Okay. I don't know if that was I've never seen that in my life. You see it leave the ground. Like insane stuff, and they all just happened to kind of not hit it cleanly. Sanchez had his eyes closed, so I don't think he was going to score regardless. But I kind of got mad at Lautaro when he missed his penalty, although I had zero faith in him making it. But I'm like, how do you look? Like, what are you looking at the ground for? And then when you see the replay, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, I could see why you're looking at the ground. You're like, how did that even happen? But listen, it's the luck of the draw. I could have gone the other way too. Who knows? Jan Oblak is a fantastic penalty saver. I wish we would have. I don't think the players studied enough going into penalties, because if you look at previous shootouts that he's done, every time teams beat him, they went to his left side. So the shooter's right and his left. We just kept shooting to his right and our left. Like, if we would have studied a little bit better, I think that we would have recognized that was a weakness of his, apparently, because Real Madrid, every shooter that they have shoots it to his left foot or his left side. So it is what it is. We lost. I was hoping to get Arsenal in the round of 16. I had a nice little beef with some of those EPL guys about it, but I think because of what we did last year, expectations were a little higher this year, which is kind of unfair in some. I mean, it's normal, but I think it's unfair because that was such a perfect storm, really, of things to play out the way it did for us to be able to get there. That even though I think we were stronger this year, I still think we did have some weaknesses, and you see it with the substitutes that we brought on compared to what Atletico brought on. So,
sure. I kind of wanted to hit on to a bit of that point there, Gianmarco. You know what? Like we said last year, incredible season for them. Made it all the way to the final. Faced a tough Man City. It was only a 1-0 game. And you mentioned, obviously, the expectations were definitely higher. I mean, this is an Inter squad that, even though maybe to a man, if you want to say, it's not the same caliber of other teams in Europe, like an Atletico, okay, sure. But I think, like you said, like they also have improved in terms of depth, in terms of players that they could bring on that are still quality. And I don't really want to use this word, but because it's a big word with clubs seasons and stuff like that. But was this because I think, again, I think it's normal to have those expectations higher, but I think they obviously should have done a lot better. Like, this is not where you wanted to end up in the Champions League, right?
sure,
I mean, this is a club that's doing not only incredible things in Italy, but in Europe as well. Like, the eyes are on Inter this season because they're playing out of this world. So, would you say it's a bit of a failure? Is that the word to use? Because I don't really like to use those types of words. But overall in this Champions League campaign, you didn't progress past this point. Would you say it's a failure? Would you say there's a bit of regret? Like I don't know, like, where you kind of stand on even though it was obviously a tough draw. This is still a quality Inter side. So I just kind of want to know, like, hear your thoughts on, like, people saying that this is a failure into the they're running away with Serie, but they couldn't get past Atletico in Champions. They could have made it to the round of 16, and people are even saying they had another clear run to the final with the type of matchups that we saw in the unveiling of the round of 16. So just your overall thoughts on all that, Gianmarco.
Yeah, I think for a fan's point of view, it's definitely a failure. When you look at what we did last year, what we're doing this year in the league, it hasn't really translated in the Champions League, of course. Even in the group stage, we kind of just coasted, really. I mean, granted, we were able to get some big wins early, and then we were able to rotate, and then we went down 3-0 to Benfica, but then with our subs, we were able to come back and make it 3-3. So that kind of just gave a lot of people hope that, oh, this team, even with our B team, we can beat anybody, blah blah blah. I think that, again, more unrealistic expectations. I think we saw there was a little bit of a lull when Inter lost Lautaro for a few games in January. We didn't lose any games, but it just felt like things were a little bit slower without him in the lineup. And then Thuram got hurt, and then we, even though still able to perform, it just felt like guys were not really clicking. Arnautovic was getting a lot of criticism. Alexis. I can't, if people listen to my podcast, they know how I feel about Alexis Sanchez, and it was just very it was going to be hard. But when you look at, for the club's view, the objective, I mean, they said it all season, even before the season started, the objective was getting the second star. That's it. Last season was great. but they said round of 16 and second star. So in the eyes of the club, we're pretty much doing what's expected. We as fans, we get a little carried away. We want everything. We want to get all the trophies. We want to be able to have the bragging rights over our rivals and be able to talk to the the Milanista and Juventini and be able to rub it in their face. And
Yeah.
but I think when you look at it from the club's perspective, this is going according to plan. I was kind of hoping that we would have been able to beat Napoli and hopefully, have a chance to break the record that Conte set. Now, at best, we can tie it. We'd have to win every game out, which I think is going to be a tough call, especially when we have a derby with Milan, in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm disappointed we didn't progress in the Champions League. I really think that, and I don't want it to sound arrogant, but I really think that when we are playing to the best of our potential, there's not a team in Europe that really scares me. And you could say that's crazy, or and I'm sure there's going to be people who aren't fans of Inter who are going to like laugh at that comment, but
yeah,
at our best, I really think we could go toe to toe with anybody. Now, when there's times when Barella doesn't play to his potential, which has been happening sometimes, Mkhitaryan is turning the ball over, Bastoni is lackadaisical in defense. Yeah, things can turn bad for sure, but if everyone plays to the best of their abilities, I truly believe that we're one of the, if not the toughest out in world football.
In terms of rest of the season, obviously they still need to clinch the Scudetto. There's 9 games left? Yeah, 9 games left.
Yeah.
So I think mathematically they could probably clinch it 5-6 games, let's say, probably even less. But now that they're out of Coppa Italia, they're out of Champions League, do you think it could almost be a challenge for the players to not get complacent with such a big lead? And I mean, it helps that it's only 9 games, but a big lead and really not much else to fight for. Do you think it could backfire a bit?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible for sure. Like you get a little too comfortable. You're just looking in your rear view. You're not really too worried about it. And then next thing you know, you could drop points to Empoli. You could drop points to Udinese, Cagliari. Like that's our next 3 matches.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you get maximum points, then it's kind of, to me, it's over. But if you drop any points in those games, and Milan it just goes 3 for 3 there, and then they're coming into the derby confident, having won 3 in a row. I think it's the 4th one, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but if they're able to win out and leading up to that match, and then we drop maybe points against Udinese and Cagliari, now what? Now instead of a 14-point lead, you're looking at an 8-point lead, and a head-to-head left, and then it turns into 5. Like you could leave the door open, and and things can turn fast. I hope they don't get complacent. I think Inzaghi has them in the right mindset. I really think this game against Napoli was more fatigue than anything. I don't think it was really any indication of just taking the foot off the gas. I think it was just, hey, we're tired, man. Like, and I think he did a poor job of rotating, but again, maybe he thought that, hey, I got to play my best players and try to get the points early, and he was hoping that if I take a 2-0 lead into the 60th minute, maybe then I can get some fresh legs on there and let them rest. But it just didn't play out that way, unfortunately. So hopefully we're able to rebound against Empoli and this not even be, it's just a blip on the radar.